weight painting and geometry nodes. So let's look at the setup first. So focus on this cube, and the cube has dimensions of 0.1 all around. Do a Control A and rotation and scale. Save that back. The other thing that I need to get right is I want the cube to have the same point of origin, set origin to the 3D cursor, because if I don't do that, then it appears that when I go into the weight painting or the random distribution of the cube around the landscape, the plane, then actually it's going to be half up and half below the plane. So the plane, the cube is 0.1 meter all around. The plane is 4 meters. Next stage, actually still part of setup, is I want to be able to easily see these things in when we go into geometry nodes and display them. So the cube, we're going to materials, material properties, and I want the base color, say, to be something bright like lime green. And for the display port, I also have to separately viewport display, do the same thing there. And then I want the plane itself, let's say that is, where's the plane gone? The plane itself can be, say, some shocking pink type thing. Go down to let's grab those values. Hex, it's that one. And then if I go down to the display port, keep saying that viewport display, go into hex and make it that. So yeah, so that's good strong color selected for both of them. In geometry nodes, do a new, and it gives us these things by default. Then need to add a distribute points on faces, so we do a Shift S, and I'm going to look for, let's do it again, Shift Search, distribute points on faces. We want one of those. On the plane, which you can't see at the moment. I'm going to do a Shift A again and a search, and this time we're looking for instance on points. So just to be clear, the focus is on, yeah, it's on plane looking up here. Yeah, good. Okay, so now I want to introduce a Shift A, going to search this time for object info. Object info, add one of those in. Going to be distributing, and it's going to be object cube because I haven't renamed it. That's what that is looking like right now. Yeah, we're not getting the plane itself displayed at the moment, so we'll do another Shift A and we'll search for join, as in join geometry. Stick that there. So the plane itself isn't appearing now, so I need to drag from geometry all the way over to geometry here, and now the plane is back. The cubes are there. They are not displayed below the surface, which is terrific because that's what I wanted. They are running over the edges a little, presumably because it actually takes the center rather than perimeter as being the boundary, the center of the cube. Subdivisions. Now, to get weight painting working, I'm pretty damn sure I need to add in subdivs. Let's hide the, probably doesn't make any difference, I'm going to hide the cube. Evidently I'm not hiding the cubes. Why am I hiding the cubes? Oh, it's because it's an attribute of the plane. The cube itself, somewhere, is still there. Yeah, lots of things to sort out here. Object mode, then tab into edit mode, then surround all of that, and then I want to right click and do a subdivide and a subdivide well, all the evidence points to the fact it does. The weight painting operates based on vertices within, in this case, the plane. There are things to be sorted out, like the cubes overlapping. We'll sort that out further down. At some point, I've evidently, unintentionally, created the subdivs not on the plane, but on the cube. So if does that appear as a modifier for the cube? No. Interesting. How do I delete the subdivides? Can I say number of cuts? Can I say 0? No, I can't. Okay, forget that. Right, let's move on to the purpose. I know it's been a long time coming, of using weight painting. So point here is I may want nothing to appear over here, and I do want stuff to appear, etc. Yeah, and that's where weight painting comes in. Somehow I've lost all record of how the hell I went about it. I don't actually think I did it in geometry notes. So I think that the key thing I've done to help matters is the subdivision creation. Having said that, in the examples that I've seen, I haven't really noticed them doing too much subdiv stuff. But having said that, if I go into object mode, then of course all the subdivs by default actually disappear anyway. So maybe it's I've been looking at things in object mode. Now, at the moment, the density factor is controlled. Actually, I've not set it up yet. That's interesting. So if I pull that from there into there, nothing changes right now, because presumably, just picking up as 1. If I go to random, that's really interesting. That hasn't changed. All right. But maybe I do need to reconnect that. Right. Okay. So if I'm random and I connect density factor to density, I think they've got some old stuff in here or something. Then I can't see any way that I can control it. Well, it's a certain factor, and it just says 1. So how does that being? Where is the 1 coming from? I don't know. But if I go, let's check we're in the plane. Yup. Go into modifiers, and we've got density factor of 1. So in this case, looking on the right hand side, if I now change density factor to 10, oh, you can't. Okay. What about 0.5? And that just makes it way smaller. And then looking back over here, so that 0.5 has been reflected over here, so that's fine. But what I want is not a static factor like that. I want to do a group. So if I go into here and I say add a vertex group, I'm going to call it mug group, just to make sure clear it's obvious it's a user-defined name. Go over here, density still 1. Okay. So if I come back now to the properties here, then if I get rid of that and then click on the symbol here, no, what is going on? Why do I not get to see? Okay, I got my vertex group here called my group, but if I try, does that work? My group is not defined. What am I doing wrong there then? Pause. Okay, so I think the reason I didn't get to see anything here was because I was tapping on. You can't just put it into this black box. On this is all on the right. Yeah, you have to go onto the whatever the flag is. If you do that, then it alternates between the hard-coded value, evidently looking back on the left, of density factor 1. But if I actually go in here, so click on this and then tab into the empty box or click into the empty box, and we've got point group, which is a float, which that is admittedly not much good to us right now. But if I change to Poisson disk, we'll play around with the rest of that in a moment. But so anyway, so we're not getting anything very satisfactory here, so, because if I blank out cube, then I get nothing at all. But I'm going to say for right now that's okay. Just out of interest, if I do untick as instance, I'm not really sure what it's doing, but it doesn't matter. We're still on plane, that's what we want. I will actually have a play with these before we go on to using weighting. So call that 0.11, call that 200, because these are values that I've tried before. That's a seed which you're not going to try. Here's a trick I found on YouTube, thank you. So you can left click, hold on the X, drag down, then put in the value and then return, and it applies to all of them. If I go back and tick as instance here, still nothing. Okay. And just checking my values, everything looks to be what I had in the working version. So I'm still relaxed about the fact that I can't see anything here, but I do know that we have subdivisions here. So if I go into weight paint, my radius is maybe okay. Problem before was, I believe anyway, the fact that I didn't have subdivisions. So if I paint some stuff around here, and let's say the whole of this, some stuff over here, I could kind of, in fact, yeah, let's make the weight lower for have a little bit more green around these parts, i.e. fewer things than the red, certainly fewer things than the red, and then maybe nothing in the blue ones. So then what do I do? So what's interesting here, so in geometry nodes, got the weight paint on. What's pretty interesting is that they're there, but they're tiny in contrast to what I had before. That's what I had before. So why would that be? It doesn't really matter, but I'm pretty intrigued as to why that's happening. Let's pause. So I have just changed scale, let's move this up a bit, to 1. Maybe I got my original, figures wrong, because of course this all goes back to the question of, for your original cube, which is, where are you, original cube? Let's look. Yeah, it's this thing here. So it's going to come out of that one, go into object mode a moment. It's this, that's cube. And when I look at its item details, let's have a look. We're in object mode there. Where's the cube? So there's the cube. So it's 0.1 of a meter. Maybe it was smaller in my original, I don't know. But that goes some way to explaining some stuff. And when we go back to the weight painting mode, don't muck about, that kind of suggests that it's gone, and because I'm on the wrong thing, maybe. go to weight paint. I'm in draw, modifiers. Ooh, what's gone weird here? Okay, plane, geometry nodes. What is going on there? Let's go back to object mode. So yeah, but it's kind of hard to believe that that's done something significant there, really. Let's go back to weight paint. Weight paint's there. Okay, so when I look over the video again, maybe we'll see what I've done that's stupid. Change the objects in the current mode. Never seen that one before. We'll notice that one. Okay, just toggling instance. Output the entire object as a single instance. This allows the instancing of non-geometry object types. Okay. Don't care about that right now, but what's clear is that this is doing exactly what it was expected of it. And now I can look at, yeah, so this is entirely what I was hoping for. Before we go on to investigate some other things, let's have a look at clicking on this icon here. If I want to take away weight painting, so this area is quite intense, so as I unpaint it, I've got subtract here, these are disappearing. That's great. In fact, we can stay here and examine some things. So we know that the distance of the size of one side of this cube is 0.1 of a meter, I believe. So these come into play here then, so I need these to make sure they don't cross over to be, I think, 2 times 0.1, so 0.2. So if I hit return there is definitely overlap there. Maybe because one of them is the original cube. Yeah, one of them's the original cube. Okay, so that's gone now, that's good. So those are following the rules. Now actually maybe I'm wrong with the need to double it. So if I say 0.1, okay, is there anything significantly over that? Because it may be it's 0.1 plus a margin of some sort. So I would say 0.11, then have we got overlap? Okay, not really overlapping, but butting up against in some cases, I would have said. Yeah, because it's certainly the same height. Let's try 0.12. Yeah, 0.12. Still a tiny bit of crossover. I'll stop this in a moment, but it's intriguing me. 0.13, is that good enough? Panning, still not quite enough. Anyway, so that's that part of it. In density max, see what happens if I put 10. So that's saying you want a low density, i.e. quite sparse. If we then increase that to 50, then to 200, might go back to some weight painting in them. That's interesting. I tried 200. Yeah, okay. And then if I try, what'd be interesting is if I, okay, so enough mucking about with that. Let's go for the whole thing. So if I make the radius, whack it up, whack the weight up, so we can do an add, run subtract. And then, whoops, didn't mean to do that. I meant to do, let's make this all red. I could have done the weight heavier, but anyway. So we got everything's maxed out, and as I paint, yeah, more cubes are added. So the weight paint is doing its job. What I actually want this for, now getting back to what I want this for in practice, if I go back to subtract again, and I reduce this radius, then what I want is, if this represents an an allotment plot, then I want, say, these cubes are now representing beds of raspberry canes with the blue representing paths between them which have no raspberry canes on them. No, they don't look like raspberry canes, but it ain't going to be too hard to get there. Okay, that's enough. It's all working. So let's take on board some points here though. We're in geometry mode. If we follow this slavishly using a Poisson disc, sure, you have to play with some of these values, but the essential principle works. The thing I was missing for a long time is you do need subdivs on your plane, otherwise you're only going to be having your, because it's vertex based, you've only got 4 vertices if you don't have any subdivs. And that's why when I tried doing the painting, it all appeared to be coming from the corner, which is exactly what it was, because that's where its vertex was, that's all it knew. So yeah, that was my noobness and doing that. Thanks.